Most people think wars are decided by weapons, but history tells a different story. Some armies never lost a battle. They simply vanished. Some fortresses never fired their final shot. They won by starving themselves. Today, we're looking at real moments in history where psychology, not force, decided everything. Because sometimes the most powerful weapon is the human mind. In 1511, Portuguese forces, backed by an empire, pushed deeper into Southeast Asia. They saw themselves as conquerors, bringing the steel and gunpowder of Europe to a world they believed was primitive. But this campaign ended in absolute silence. There was no decisive battle, no recorded massacre. Reports back to the coast simply ceased. An army of thousands doesn't just go silent. Weapons were found abandoned, supply trails went cold. It was a ghost story in the making. So what really happened? By piecing together environmental data and local chronicles, a terrifying picture emerges. It wasn't a single event, but a slow, psychological dismantling. First, the environment became the enemy. Unseen fevers, malaria, dysentery, tore through the ranks faster than any blade. The jungle canopy was so thick it turned day into perpetual twilight. Formations, the bedrock of European warfare, became useless. A soldier couldn't see the man next to him, let alone the enemy. Then came the tactics of their unseen foes. Local forces refused open combat. They were shadows. A volley of arrows from nowhere. A trap on the trail. The Portuguese weren't fighting an army, they were fighting the jungle itself. This is where the mind breaks. Certainty was replaced by paranoia. Every rustle of leaves became an ambush. The chain of command frayed. Trust eroded. Small groups, desperate, began to slip away into the green maze, never to be seen again. It had ceased to be a military force. It was a collection of starving, sick, and terrified men. This wasn't defeat by violence. It was defeat by environment, pressure, and psychology. The jungle didn't need to kill them all. It only needed to break their will to exist. Now let's move from jungle to stone walls. A fortified city, completely surrounded. The attackers had cut off all roads. No reinforcements could get in. No supply lines existed. For the people inside, starvation was not a risk, it was a mathematical certainty. The besieging army waited, confident that hunger would be their greatest weapon. They expected a surrender within weeks. Instead, the defenders made an impossible decision. From the high walls, in full view of their enemy, they began to destroy their own food. They threw their last sacks of grain, their last animals, over the battlements. It was an act of supreme confidence, a public spectacle designed to send one simple message. We have so much food, we can afford to waste it. The lie was planted. The besieging commander, watching this display, felt the first seed of doubt. His intelligence said they should be starving. His eyes told him they were feasting. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. On the outside, morale collapsed. The attackers, facing their own dwindling supplies and the onset of winter, began to question the entire operation. They had come for a swift victory, not a war of attrition against an enemy that seemed to have infinite resources. And eventually they withdrew. The defenders had been starving the entire time. They won not with swords, but by masterfully lying to the human mind. These aren't isolated cases. The vanished army and the starving fortress are just two chapters in a much longer story. For millennia, the greatest commanders understood a single, brutal truth. If you break an enemy's will to fight, you don't need to destroy their army. A weapon can only kill a single soldier, but an idea can disarm thousands. Fear spreads faster than blades. Uncertainty does more damage than arrows. Once soldiers believe they've already lost, they usually have. This principle didn't fade with the advent of gunpowder or steel. It evolved, it sharpened. Today, it is the primary weapon of modern conflict. We call it by new names: propaganda, psychological operations, information warfare. Every leaflet dropped from the sky, every radio broadcast beamed behind enemy lines, every algorithm designed to push divisive content. They all descend from these ancient tactics of breaking the human mind. The goal is no longer just to capture a hill or a city. It is to capture belief itself. to sow doubt, to fuel division, to make an enemy tear itself apart from the inside. The battlefield moved from fields and forests to the invisible networks that connect us. It moved into our screens, our feeds, and our minds. And that shift didn't just change warfare, it changed history forever. Not every war ends with a victory parade. Some end quietly, in jungles, behind walls, inside people. If this kind of real hidden history interests you, subscribe and comment below. Which was more powerful, nature or psychology?